Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee with Katie. I am still sick, kind of. I have my Murderbot Diaries mug and I'm drinking some tea because I still have a lot of the symptoms I had when I started getting sick, and apparently this is just like a really lingering type of a thing and it's really annoying. So I have some tea to try to help me get through this video. But today's video is going to be kind of fun and a little bit more chill. We're going to be doing a spring book tag. It's literally called Springtime Book Tag. And I was thinking the other day, I was like, you know what I would like to do right now? A book tag. So we're doing a spring one. It's kind of nice because it is technically spring now, which is crazy. I saw Bookables do this tag. I'm not sure who the original creator is. I think it's her. Can't find that on this video. So just know that I think it's her. And all of the questions have like theming, which is kind of interesting. So the first one is flowers. All the flowers we remember are blooming again. Pick a book that's a fresh take on a retelling. I'm kind of using this a little bit loosely, but I would say my pick on a retelling is How to Lose a Lord in 10 Days. It's not necessarily a retelling, but I kind of think of it in the same vein as the movie How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, because both of them are interesting situations. So the movie is like, I think she's paid to see if the son will break up with her or if he'll tolerate her, and it's kind of like a bet. So whoever wins the bet gets like money or something, but they don't know that the other one knows. This one is she doesn't want to get married to this guy and he proposes to her and she accepts, and so they're trying to she's trying to get him to rescind his proposal, which is not something you really do in society. So trying to like out embarrass or like societally embarrass each other. And she wants to be jilted, she wants him to leave her, so she's just being like super obnoxious. He figures out what's happening and then he tries to do the same thing. So not exactly, but kind of funny. If I wasn't gonna pick this one though, it would be A Soul as Cold as Frost by Jennifer Kropf. I literally just had my copy like a day ago and I couldn't find it for this video. But it's not necessarily a retelling of one specific story, but it uses a lot of Christmas wintry mythology or legends like Jack Frost or Santa, or just like a lot of different things. And like one of the characters that she ends up going around with, the main character ends up going around with, has like ice powers, kind of like Jack Frost, and he carries like a candy cane looking staff. So the way it's written is really interesting, very holiday, Christmas, wintry. So it's not necessarily a retelling of one exact story, but I liked how all of those elements were brought together in a fantasy book, because I feel like other than contemporary romances, or like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I haven't read a lot of books that do like those types of Christmassy, wintry elements in that way, where it's very holiday-esque and not just like a wintry setting. I thought it was really interesting and different, so we could say that one also, even though we're talking about spring books. So the next one is Cadbury Mini Eggs. Obviously the superior springtime candy of choice. Pick a book that you consider to be a sweet treat. For this one, I also have two options. A Rivalry of Hearts by Tessanja Odette. I kind of picked this up on a whim. It was a NetGalley book, and I actually really, really loved it. It was really cute. This is book one in the Fae, Flings, and Corset Strings. So this is a Fae Regency romance type of a situation, historical romance. And like I said, I really loved it. I enjoyed it a lot. It was really fun and cute. And it's about a human who's an author and a Fae male who's an author. And he is like this huge deal, and she's kind of trying to make a name for herself, but also has like a good following for her books. And they're kind of on this tour together, and they're like competing for this contract for publishing. So it's super fun. And I remember going into it thinking it was going to be fine, but I liked it way more than I thought I was going to. And it was really cute. I loved the setting. I loved that it was humans and Fae. I loved that it was still like historical romance settings, but there's also magic because obviously of the Fae. I really enjoyed it and it was really cute. So I think if you wanted something that like has some tension, has some cute elements, but also like frustrating elements, like, you know, just like them clashing or being torn apart, whatever it is, I think you would like this. It's really cute. One that's just like straight up adorable and may have a little bit of, obviously like all books kind of have to have like some sort of conflict or whatever for the plot. But if you're looking for one that's just kind of super adorable and cute and fun, Dating and Dragons by Christy Boyce. You've heard me talk about this like cute little YA contemporary D&D series, but they're so cute. They're so short. Oh, I say that, it's like 300 pages, but it's a little book. It's just so cute. I remember this was adorable. I liked this couple. The first one, Dungeons and Drama, also very good, but I liked this one more. I liked the couple in this more, and the friends, and just kind of the premise of this, but also it was funny and made me laugh, and it was just sweet and wholesome and cute, and you're rooting for them, and it's funny. So if you want something that's just like super cute and sweet, read this series. It's so much fun. The next one's coming out in May, and I'm going to read it immediately. It's kind of one of those things where I don't want to say the same books that I've been talking about for months, but also I had to say that one for this prompt. Next one is Allergies. Seasonal allergies often make your eyes water. Pick a book that made you cry. Now, my caveat for this question is that I don't really cry in media a lot of the time. I'm getting more emotional, and probably because I'm just like healing and growing as a person. But a lot of stuff like that doesn't really make me cry because it's not real. And I know it's not real. Some things do get me though, like Liam Mari. Every time I think about it, for too long, I tear up, even though I don't even think I cried in the moment, even though I was so upset. But if I think about it for too long, I'm going to tear up. So there's certain things now that will kind of get me. And this book is one of those. I don't remember crying in the moment. I remember tearing up, but I don't remember ever crying in these moments. But I did tear up, and I was thinking about this book the other day because I'm working on a bookish like tattoo sleeve, which, wow, I just showed you like none of it. I'm working on a bookish tattoo sleeve, so I'm always thinking of new pieces to add to it of books that I love. And this one is one I was thinking of recently. Sorry, I'm rambling a little bit, but this one is one I was thinking about recently, and I was thinking of ideas and how to encapsulate the book, because sometimes that's the hard part, is having the idea for what you want to represent the book. And for this one, I was thinking about a particular scene, and I got teary-eyed. So let me just get it. Not like you've not heard me talk about this book a million times either, but Alchemized by Senlin Yu. I was thinking about a very particular scene where the rings are burning, and if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. And I was getting emotional about it all over again. So, Alchemized by Senlin Yu makes me cry. This is a chunky book. Is it over 1,000 pages or just 1,000? Barely over 1,000 pages. And it is a insane story. If you know the lore behind this book, it used to be a Harry Potter fan fiction called Manacled, and it was turned into a published work that is a totally different world and magic system. And it's amazing. I love it so much. It's the most like heart-shattering book, but also just so beautiful. It's just so interesting. It's so intricate. The characters are flawed and awful, and yet you understand why, because they're in this war and everyone's traumatized and having a hard time. So I loved this, and I was thinking about that scene and was tearing up. So if you want to read this book and you want it to be like a simple read or a quick read or not emotionally devastating, maybe don't. But if you're ready to have your heart broken, or just like drug along for a really long time in the hopes that it doesn't shatter and then maybe it won't in the end, you can read it. But I love this. So this one. And then next is Spring Cleaning. Out with the old, in with the new. Pick a book to unhaul. This might hurt some of you. I'm gonna do a full book unhaul video because I have a lot that I'm gonna be getting rid of, and I'm still kind of going through and cleansing my collection, downsizing a lot. So one of them that I'm gonna be unhauling is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. This is actually a special edition too, which sucks. But I read this and I did not understand the hype basically at all. I wanted to read this because I heard there were dragons and I heard the world building was amazing, and it was a ton of world building for it being a romantic fantasy, and it was more world building and fantasy than it was romance. I didn't like it. I think the world building is just a lot of foreign words for like time and months and days and years, and the world doesn't really get built that much. And the main character doesn't have memories, and so you're slowly like kind of learning that as you go. But I felt like the world building that I have seen in a lot of different fantasy books, high fantasy books, romantasy books, was better than this. And I didn't like the characters that are you're supposed to be rooting for together, like to get together. I didn't care about that. I cared about like a couple dragons, sure. And the twist at the end was interesting enough that I might continue. But for how long this was, I felt like there was no reason for it to be that long. For what it unfolds and what you get, I liked the beginning, which was like this much is what I'm talking about of the beginning. And then a tiny bit of the end. And the rest of it, I was like, what was that? And I'm sorry, I don't want to like crap on your favorite book or something, because I know people really like this, but I just don't get it. So I'm going to be getting rid of this because I love the edges so much, but I can't keep it if I don't love it, especially when I'm getting rid of all these books, you know? So this one. Next is Spring Break. It's the perfect time for an adventure. Pick a book involving a road trip. This was actually really hard for me because I feel like you have to read a lot of contemporary to kind of appreciate this. So what I did instead is I'm going to go ahead and change this to a trip or a quest, as in fantasy-y. So with that being said, I could pick from pretty much any fantasy because a lot of fantasies have quests. But I kind of, as I was ruminating on this question, decided that I was going to go with one that I'm reading right now. I'm like about to finish it actually, but it's Legendary by Stephanie Garber, and I'm using this one because there's a point towards the beginning of the book where they're traveling from one place to another, and they have to do it by ship. So they're sailing on a ship for several days, and then once they get to the new city, they have to like take these sky carriages places around the town to play in the game. So I'm going to use Legendary because I love this series, and Becky from Bex Reads and I are doing a read along with this series, and I've been thoroughly enjoying it, loving it almost as much as the first time I read them. Nothing can compete with the first time you read something like this because it's just so magical the first time, but I'm still loving them so much. And I love like quests and mysteries, and this is like trying to solve mysteries, trying to find answers to clues, playing a game, traveling, mysterious creature-esque, like immortal people, like just really cool stuff. So, Legendary. The next one is Mating Season. It's that time of the year in Animal Kingdom to make some babies. Pick a book with some delights. For this, I decided to go with Throne of Nightmares by Carrie Maniscalco. I'll talk about this in my reading wrap-up, but I read this book and really enjoyed the aspects of traveling through different, like, fantasy realms and the dangers that poses, like, kind of knowing what's going to happen, but also just kind of being able to go into your favorite story. It's just really cool. And the character gets to go into all these mythical worlds of fantasy books that she's read about. So it's not like books we have, but in her world they exist. But it's really cool because she's a librarian, and she utilizes a lot of tropes that we're aware of as readers. So it was a really fun time, but it is a little bit spicy because it is a Prince of Sin series by Carrie Maniscalco. If you know that series, it's kind of like her more new adult fantasies about the 7 princes of hell that all are represented by a deadly sin. So this one is following sloth. Really enjoyed it, more so than I think the rest of the books in this series so far. Really liked it. Next is Rainbows. I just feel like spring is made of freaking rainbows. Pick a book featuring an LGBTQ plus character or characters. For this one, I'm going with Silver Cloak by L.K. Stephen. I've talked about this book several times, probably not as much as it deserves, honestly, but I have talked about it multiple times. And I loved this book, but there are some characters in this that do fall into this category. The main character, Saf, is one of them, and then there's some other characters scattering in about, but the main character is. And this book is so good. And the second one is actually coming out at the end of this year. Like, I think September, maybe? The fall. I think it's September. And I can't wait to continue. The next one is called Turncloak. Anyway, this one is very cool. It's a magical world where they have wands, so they use wand magic with intricate spells, and you have to get the wording of spells really, really correct, and you have like affinities for different types of spells. So you may have more affinity for one over the other. I can't remember exactly what they're called, and I doubt there's a glossary I can look at. Well, there's classes of magic like Enchanter, Brewer, Wielder, Healer, Compeller, Foreseer, or Time Weaver, but the Time Weaver powers are extinct. Super cool magic system. Loved it so much. And then, so really intricate spells, wand magic. But then the whole premise of this is that she wants to become a Silver Cloak, which is like the police force, the detectives of this world. And they're trying to bring down criminal syndicates and criminals in the world. one of the biggest, which is the blood moons, which are, like, again, this criminal syndicate that's huge, and they're so big and sneaky that they can't catch them. So through some unfortunate events that happen to this main character, she is asked to go undercover and pose as one of the blood moons to get information to be able to feed it back to her, like, supervisor, to bring them down from the inside, and then she can potentially become a silver cloak after that. So, fantastic book. If you haven't read it, or you've still been sleeping on it or dragging your feet, pick it up. It's so good. So good. Next is Spring Awakening. This is one of my all-time favorite musicals, even though it's filled with completely dysfunctional characters. Pick a book that's also filled with completely dysfunctional characters. I have two for this as well. The first one being The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Brigitte Knightley, because there's a healer and an assassin. They're in these different types of guilds. He's in here because he's like a Draco Malfoy type of a human who's an assassin, so he cares about himself and only himself. Has much dysfunction about him. He's very morally gray, maybe even morally black at times, but he's a bad fella. But he's not like viciously bad for no reason. He's an assassin. He's hired to do these things, and he does them, and he does not care what people think, and he likes his order. She is a healer, but she's kind of one of those people that, even though she's a good person, a lot of people can fall into this category, especially if you're a good person and you want to help the greater good. It's like you're overworked and underpaid and killing yourself for the cause, you know? So I would consider both of those things to be dysfunctional. If you haven't read this, please read it. I know some people really hate on it, and I don't get it because it's so funny. I think you should pick this up knowing that it's going to be kind of like an enemies to lovers situation, but it's more so going to be more on the lighthearted, humorous side, even though there are plot points to this and mysteries and interesting things that are going on that I love. It's really like a lot of banter between the two, and kind of, and like really funny. I think it's really funny, like the way it's written, the way it's like performed in the audiobook as well, just like really funny. He's obsessed with himself. She's like, get out of my face. Their orders hate each other, so they're like naturally mortal enemies because their magic, like just intrinsically how it is manifesting in you in the guild, is counterproductive. He's an assassin, she's a healer. He has an incurable disease, and he's like blackmailing her in order to kind of make some sort of bargain to see if she can help heal him, but she's basically saying he's a lost cause, so they're just doing everything they can to try to research this and find maybe magical ways that are considered ridiculous and like nobody in her field would truly consider them that is legitimate, but she's just trying everything she can because he's giving her money to pay for some research to eradicate this children's disease that is spreading, and they can't really understand why. So good. I'm so mad that people don't like it. Anyway, so good. You should read it if you haven't. While we're also on the subject of dysfunctional, though, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Lights Out by Vanessa Allen. Both of these characters are very dysfunctional. One dude has a lot of issues because of his father, who was a serial killer. Yep. And so obviously that's gonna cause you a lot of trauma, and then you're very dysfunctional in the way you interact with other people because of that. And then the girl, main character, puts up with all of this red flags and is kind of a red flag in and of herself. So both of them very dysfunctional, but this audiobook was hilarious. Like, you would see this type of a book and be like, that is a dark romance, like that is not it. But when I listened to the audiobook, that's how I actually kind of really enjoyed this book. It was really funny, and I didn't think I was gonna like it. So there you go. He's essentially stalking her in the nicest way possible. He does like videos on social media and like thirst trap, whatever videos, like with the masks, and sees this follower that comments on all his stuff. He thinks she's really cute, tries to figure out how they can meet in real time. I would agree with this. Actually, on the back it says a dark romance like you've never seen before. And then the next one is In Like a Lion, Out Like a Lamb. Pick a book series that didn't get better as it progressed. So I have many, but the ones that they're going to stand out to me right now, not because I hated them. I've already talked about one of these series before that I'm not going to mention in this video, so we're not going to talk about that one. But I actually think the Powerless series by Lauren Roberts does not get better as it goes. I really liked the first book, and then I felt like the second book was kind of weird and second book syndrome-y, and then I was really upset how the third book ended and was handled in the end. So I feel like that one did not get better as it went on. Not that I don't enjoy the series as a whole, because I do like the story, I do like the series, but I feel like if I'm talking about it, the first one is what really got me, and then the rest of them I was just kind of like, ugh, it's fine. So that one, and then the one that I have mentioned before is the Monster series by Vanessa Lynn. I loved the first book. It was so fun. I loved the characters. I loved that they were time traveling and then it was like the 90s. They had to go back to like the 90s era. Loved it. Loved the concept that there are humans and monsters, but the monsters look like people, but they have the ability to siphon off time of a human's life in order to time travel. I want to time travel like a year back. I have to take that time from a human's life. So that human has 1 year less of a life. I loved that concept. Amazing. Execution of it. Amazing. And then the second book happened and I was like, well, that was really disappointing. I feel really bored. That was a lot of second book syndrome, but that's okay. Let's wait for the third book. 2 years later, the third book comes. I'm reading it. I'm like, yes, okay, it's picking up. I love this again. Hooray. And then it just took an awful turn. Some people may have liked it. I hated it and I was so mad. I felt like years of my life had been wasted and I can't believe the author did that to me. So that one did not get better as it progressed. And in fact, made me so mad that I'm unhauling all of my Fairlead editions. But moving on. Last one is not really a question, it's more of a prompt and it's fun in the sun and it's to tag some friends to complete this. I kind of just say, if you want to do this tag, do it. Becky from Bex Reads, if you want to do this tag, I would love to see your answers. I'm also going to tag Honest Fiction. I don't know if she even knows that I exist, probably not, but I would be curious to hear her answers for these as well. Well, that is it for today's video. Sorry that I'm not feeling great, but I thought this was kind of like a fun little thing to chat about some books. I was trying to pick ones that I haven't talked about recently or before, but you know how hard that is when you've got like books stuck in your brain. And if any of you are watching, I would love to see your answers to any of these questions. If you want to pick one, if you want to pick all of them, leave them in the comments. I will read them. But for now, that is it for today's video. Please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and caffeinated. Bye.